Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today from Boston, or, well, not quite, but, in the neighborhood, Charlie Cook of Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
From the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth, okay, all right.
Quamin, Q-U-A.
Okay.
Commonwealth.
All right. So just curious, Charlie, when you take somebody out riding shotgun with Charlie, do they get in the car?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, want to remind everybody as we get started, if you'd like to comment on anything we're talking about, go ahead and comment on either the Facebook or YouTube videos of the Polite Society podcast channel. I get most of those from Facebook. I get all of them from YouTube. If you commented and you don't see your comment come up on the air and you want to get your comment on the air, just slide over to one of those pages. We're already getting comments in from check-ins, so I know we're getting out there. Charlie, right. Top news today, we talked about it a little bit on Polite Society last night, but looks like news outlets are starting to pick it up that Massachusetts is going the wrong way on gun laws again.
Shocking. The gun law listening tour that Representative Michael Day did was a complete sham. It was a complete and utter sham. I got a text message yesterday of the link to the Mass Legislature website of the new proposed bill. It's 141 pages long. There's no. This guy was telling everyone at the beginning of these. He would, hey, listen, we're scrambling to get on the panel. We're scrambling to find dates and places where we can do this listening tour. And then all of a sudden, 3 weeks after it's done, he's got 140 pages of a bill, a new anti-gun bill. He's got new terms. He's got new training requirements, new everything. There's about, I don't know, I'm not going to say it's 10 pages. There are a list of all of the guns that we cannot own, that they're proposing that we cannot own. The crazy thing is this, they've expanded the assault weapon definition into an assault-style weapon.
Oh.
Yes, an assault-style weapon, which this kills me. It includes a Ruger Mini 14. It includes a Kel-Tec Sub 2000. I don't know if you've seen these before. These are the 9mm pistol caliber carbines that fold in half.
Beautiful pieces of engineering. I love those things.
It's great. A place that I teach up in New Hampshire, the guy says, "Hey, I got a computer gun." I'm like, "What?" He opens up his computer bag and pulls out a Kel-Tec Sub 2000. So this was in 2020. I was like, oh man, I got to get one of those. I found one used for I don't know, $250. How could you go wrong? That is now an assault-style weapon. The High Point carbine is also an assault-style weapon.
Let me guess, the Nerf gun that holds 8 rounds in the big cylinder, that's an assault-style weapon. Probably.
Yeah, it's the infringement that this guy did is it's unbelievable. It was completely a dog and pony show. He actually met with Gabby Giffords in the middle of the gun law listening tour. So I'm assuming, this is me speculating, I delivered him a nice big fat check for services rendered, and all new definitions, a list of that we were not supposed to be able to own. I am sure all of that came with a big fat check from the Giffords Foundation, which of course comes from Bloomberg.
It would not shock me in the least. Of course, you got to reserve 10% for the big guy, but
This is true. You do need to leave 10% for the big guy.
Get this in here real quick. C&T Designs at Arms says, Brother Charlie, what up?
What is happening, CT?
Let's see here. The other thing I was noticing out of the news story I was looking at today, apparently there's a live fire portion of training that is required now for folks seeking to get a concealed carry permit in the Commonwealth.
In the Commonwealth. Yeah, so I'm pulling this up from gold.org, which is our state's pro-gun group, Gun Owners Action League. 56 of the bill is the new training mandates. There is a written exam, prevention and harm reduction education, active shooter and emergency response training, applicable laws relating to the use of force, de-escalation and disassignment tactics, live firearm training to be determined by the state police. By the way, the state police get a cutout for all of these laws. And students must meet the new established minimum requirements. So this, one of the things that they did at one of the gun law listening tours is they talked about the domestic violence survivors. And they talked about how these women don't have money, they need money for their kids, they need money for a place to live. They went to the impacted areas, which are the crappy parts in Massachusetts, and they would say, hey, listen, here's the scoop. These people don't have money, which the parents are immigrants. I'm going to use air quotes when I say immigrants, but the parents are immigrants. They have two jobs. They don't have time to take care of their kids. Their kids turn to their family on the street, which is a gang, which turns them into criminals and gang activity. And I think Representative Day called it gang activity and organized crime. And so they sit here and tell us that these people don't have money, but then what do? They say, hey, you need to do live fire. Hey, you're going to have some tactics training. You're going to have to have active shooter and emergency response training, de-escalation and disengagement tactics. And then they're going to turn around and tell us, they're going to give us all of this training, which is good to have, not a requirement, but good to have. And then they're going to make us jump through more hoops, make us pay more money to get these licenses, and then restrict everywhere we can carry.
Yeah. De-escalation. De-escalation's a good thing. And to quote Tom Walls, you need to calm down. By the way, Tom, I know is watching. He commented just a few seconds ago. But de-escalation's a good thing. Requiring training on anything is an extremely bad idea because you're going to get the state version and not the real version. Charlie, you have to deal with this even with when you go to Utah to teach your classes. You have to teach what the state wants people to know, not necessarily what is good for the student or what the student wants or needs to know.
Yeah, absolutely. You're supposed to teach what the state wants you to know. And I got to tell you, I have the people that I cater to, all of my clients, all my students, I'm going to say more than 97% of these people have not owned firearms before. They need to learn how to become familiar. They want to learn loading and unloading. They want to learn how to shoot. And now you're like, hey, listen, you're interested in owning a gun? What do you want a gun for? Oh, you want to go shooting with your son? You want to go do some trap shooting? Okay, cool. You're going to have to do some active shooter training. You're going to have some emergency response training. Wait a second. We just want to have a couple guns to go trap shooting. Yeah, no, you're going to have all this other training. By the way, when people take the class, I don't know if you've had this before, but I've had people say to me, okay, the class is 4 hours long. How soon can we get out? Okay. So you're asking me, would you just stamp my certificate and let me out of here? Here's your money. I'm not going to do any more training. I'm going to buy a 10-round magazine with 10 bullets. right? So I can keep it locked up in my house, because now that I have a gun, I'm nice and safe and secure, which of course we know is bunk. But people already, when the state comes out and says, this is the minimum you need to learn, that's what people want to learn, maybe a little bit less. But when people are brand new to shooting, there's no reason you should be teaching them some stuff until they're with their firearm, until they can shoot, until they know how to load and unload. I had a lady one time, oh man, I am wired today. I had a lady one time, how come I didn't do a live fire class? And I said, I do a live, this was in 2020, and 2020 things were great. I hate saying that the riots were goodness, but they were. And a lady came in one time, and I had probably 8 or 9 people in the class, and she's like, well, how come you don't do a live fire class? I'm like, I do a live fire class, but this isn't that. And then after she saw a few people load and unload, she's like, oh, now I see why you don't do a live fire class. People put their fingers on the trigger. And they put their finger on the trigger. They end up sweeping me half of the time. When I always give them a mouthful of, you know what, point the gun at the instructor, and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm like, you know what, that's okay. We're in a controlled environment. We don't have any live ammunition. If we were on a shooting range, it would be a little bit different. Yeah. But we're in a controlled environment. I don't want to say it's okay, but it's more understandable, it's more acceptable that you're doing this, because this is the first time you're handing a gun. And now you're going to, here's a gun for the first time. Do some active shooter training, and of course, if during your training, they can do things like, oh, you didn't pass the active shooter training because you didn't, you had before, so you weren't able to shoot the gun out of someone's hands or shoot them in the leg, Joe Biden. Yeah, we're not going to give you your permit because you didn't pass the written exam, you didn't pass the qualification, no license for you. Go back to go, start over.
Got to get a couple comments in here. CNT again. CNT is on fire again today. Says, as a teacher at a college, I want some active shooter force on force training. Charlie, the most I ever learned and the quickest I ever learned was when I went to the Firearms Academy Seattle, went through their active shooter interdiction training, was the title of that course. Part of that was force on force. And I got killed twice in that class, but believe me, I learned quickly.
So there's this great story. You can ask Robin Sandoval, you can ask Rob Beckman. We were doing the Faster Saves Lives in Ohio in 2021. I was the last person to go in for the last exercise for the last drill on the last day. I've wanted to do this for 30 years as a teacher. I wanted to go into the room and scream and shout and swear.
Okay.
I went into the room. There were students. The students were the other people in the class, but there were students on the ground. There was a person that had a gun pointed at the teacher that was in the classroom. I ran down the hall. I figured out where the sounds were coming from. I ran down the hall. I opened the door up. I stick my gun out, and I swear, put the gun down, Samuel L. Jackson. If you know what I mean. The guy turned to me. I got hit on the bicep. I got hit on this side of the arm, and I got hit twice in my torso. And I was like, okay, don't go into the room screaming, put the gun down. Oh my God. It was an unbelievable rush, because this guy started shooting the rubber balls at me, and then I had to respond and shoot him back. But now, what's the incoming fire has right of way. So it was utterly exhilarating. So I am all for, if you can do some force on force training, absolutely do it. It is a complete rush.
I want to move on to a few other stories here. Big shock. We burned up 15 minutes already. But I want to get to a couple other stories. I did find this one. This is from LaramieLive.com. The gist of their story is that there's only one other state that has more gun owners per 100 than Wyoming does. Well, it turns out that's Montana. Well, I'm going to get to some of the list here in a little bit, but top 5 states in gun owners per 100 citizens. Number 1, Montana has 65 gun owners per 100 residents. By the way, the Giffords org gives them an F. Wyoming, 60.7. They get an F. West Virginia, 60. They get an F. I'm seeing a trend here. Idaho, 57.8. They get an F. Alaska, 57.2. They get an F. And South Dakota comes in at number 6, my home state, at 55. We as well get an F. Some of the lowest states per 100.
On the flip side,
yes. Starting at number 45, California, 16.3 per 100. New York, 14.5. Rhode Island, 13.9. Hawaii, 9.1 per 100 citizens own a gun. Massachusetts, 9.0. And at the very bottom of the barrel, no shock, New Jersey at 8.9.
You forgot to point out that all the bottom 6 states all have A's except for Rhode Island, which has a B plus.
Yeah,
from the Giffords Foundation.
And I don't know what Rhode Island did to get the B plus,
right, to get a B plus, all state.
Yeah, got me. Let me go check over here. Looks like we still got. Looks like we got a lot of check-ins happening over here. But if anybody wants to comment in with something else, feel free. By the way, it is a very slow news day today. The other one that came across my, this is off physics.org, and it's as you would expect from an educational website. It's a story about what am I trying to say? Educational, but that's not it. It's a published
College
paper.
Researchers.
Yeah, in a story published in Social Psychiatry and Psychiatric Epidemiology, researchers found that based on their answers to a variety of other questions, a group of individuals appeared as though they might be falsely denying firearm ownership when directly asked by researchers. Some of these individuals resemble what previous research indicated to be a typical American firearm owner. For example, a white male. I feel targeted here. Others look quite different, racial or ethnic minority, female, living in urban environments, highlighting that the landscape of firearm ownership in the United States may be shifting. Quote, some individuals are falsely denying firearm ownership, resulting in research not accurately capturing the experiences of all firearm owners in the U.S., said Allison Bond, lead author of the story and a doctoral student with the New Jersey Gun Violence Research Center. More concerningly, these individuals are not being reached with secure firearm storage messaging and firearm safety resources, such as turn them in, we'll give you money for it, which may result in them storing their firearms in an insecure manner, which in turn increases the risk for firearm injury and death. Rutgers researchers surveyed a group of 3,500 English-speaking adults who are U.S. residents. Each participant was asked if they own a firearm, as well as demographic factors and questions assessing perceived threats. Charlie, I haven't had a call from a poll in a very long time. Matter of fact, I was still driving truck the last time somebody called me with a poll. But I have to believe I would if somebody called me on the phone and asked, "Are you a gun owner?" I'm gonna assume they do not know who I am. Don't you know who I am? I'm going to assume they don't know who I am. And I'm going to lie my backside off, because how do I know that you're really calling from Pew or from Rutgers or from any other legitimate polling agency and not just trying to see if I'm home and whether they can steal guns from my house.
If someone called me and asked me if my refrigerator was running, I would tell them no. I swear to God, yesterday I was doing a bunch of show stuff yesterday for my show that came out this morning, and I got a call from a lady that wanted to ask me some questions, and I hung up on her. Like, 'cause she's like, "Can I ask you a couple questions about it?" I'm like, "Nope." Like I don't know who you are. I'm not answering your questions. This is none of your business. So I think someone wanted to pull me for something, and I hung up on them because I'm not answering this question. I think this is maybe this might be an interesting take. I think they're trying to tell people is that gun owners are liars, right? They're liars.
So how can they be trusted with guns if they're liars, right?
Exactly. It's completely ridiculous that that they would call and ask people if they have guns in their house and expect people to tell the truth. And I know that they're not telling the truth.
Yeah, and I want to go back to our previous story. I'm wondering how many in states 45 through 50 might have been gun owners and might, like, when they ask that question, they're thinking in their heads, it's none ya business if I'm a gun owner or not.
It is a lot of none ya. Absolutely. It is nobody's business. Ain't nobody's business if I do.
Exactly. Get to a couple comments here. This one coming from, I believe it's a group in Facebook. Hello from North Carolina. Charlie is a great brand, and hashtag I am an owner.
Charlie Chambers, speaking in code.
And C&T comes back. Again, how will government ever enforce safe storage? Will they get to come in my home like I am an FFL and audit me? That's a sore spot.
So this is something I thought about a month and a half or so ago. I thought about recently, and someone said if they can infrared your house, that is a violation of the Fourth Amendment, right?
One would think
if somebody can do infrared to see what's in your house and what's going on in your house, that is a violation of an illegal search and seizure. And I was like, ooh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Right?
That is.
Like if they're standing outside of your house and they're shooting some high-tech blaster at your house to some infrared thing to see what's going on in your house, that's a violation of your Fourth Amendment there. Illegal search and seizure.
Get this one in here. C&T. Paul, did you see the field hearing yesterday with Matt Gaetz about the overreach of ATF? I did read a little bit about it. Nothing really, I thought, really newsworthy came out of it, so it didn't quite make to the rundown for the show today. I'll look it over again, C&T. And Amanda Suffolk's tomorrow, so you may see Amanda and I talking about it, but I didn't have a whole lot of time today to look over news. So the last thing I got for today, Charlie, is this. New laws taking effect July 1st. Number one, Vermont gets a 72-hour waiting period for gun purchases and a brand spanking new red flag law. And Washington State gets their ghost gun ban to take effect. They've already got their assault weapon ban in effect. And Florida gets permitless concealed carry. So we got, three corners of the nation. We got two different ways they're going gun rights. Vermont, Washington, not so great. Florida going the right way.
I think Vermont falling to some anti-gun nonsense is going to be bad for New England, because the three New England states, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, are all permitless carry, and Vermont has been permitless carry since before the country was formed.
Right.
And a lot of people like to point out we call it the Vermont study before we started calling it constitutional or permitless carry. So if that happens in New England, that's not going to be good. A lot of times, what we do in New England is when we're fighting for freedoms here in Massachusetts, we'll say, hey, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine doesn't have this, doesn't have magazine restrictions, doesn't have assault weapon bans, doesn't have any of that stuff. They've all got permitless carry. You pass your 4473 and you're good to go. But with Vermont slipping into some red flag laws and waiting, this probably is not going to be good.
Yeah, that's. Isn't Sanders the senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders? Isn't that his?
Yes.
Isn't that
where Vermont is Bernie Sanders' home state, and he lives in the house that Hillary Clinton paid for.
New York, Manhattan is Bernie Sanders' home. He may carpetbag up into Vermont and get the Senate seat from Vermont, but he lives in Brooklyn. And well, I suppose, you know what? I've seen him driving around an incredibly expensive. I've seen pictures of him driving an incredibly expensive Audi sports car. I imagine he could unwind that a little bit more up in Vermont than he could down in Brooklyn. But there are potholes in Brooklyn bigger than that car.
This is true.
We're getting down towards the bottom of the hour, man. You just had a really cool riding shotgun with Charlie drop. You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Last went to East Greenbush, New York, and I interviewed Tom King from the New York. He's the president of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association, and he's on the NRA board of directors, and he runs one of the committees up in the NRA. And we talked about all things Bruin. One of the things that I did not know is Mr. Bruin he said he was a big Second Amendment supporter. He was just doing his job of his boss, and his boss was Mr. Andrew Cuomo. So, Andrew Cuomo, who got a step down as the governor of New York,
was forced out. Really, he was going to be. He was going to be impeached.
Yeah, he should have been impeached, and he should have been charged with all the things that they said. But he was. Bruin worked his way up the ranks to become the colonel of the colonel of the state police, or the superintendent of the state police, and he was just doing his job, doing what he was told to do, even though he was a pro-gun guy. And
so was Goering.
Yeah.
So was Herman Goering. Sorry.
That's all right. So so that was pretty cool to talk with him about all things related. It cost the New York State Rifle and Pistol $2.2 million to take that case to the Supreme Court and win, which is why people should not only be members of the big national pro-gun groups, but they should also support their state pro-gun groups as well.
They absolutely should.
Yeah, so that was a pretty cool show. Actually, this was interesting. One of the things that came up when I was talking with Tom King is he was saying that he would talk to politicians, and politicians would shake his hand and say that they're friends. And as he was walking out of the office, an anti-gun activist would come in, and he would sit and talk with them. And I thought it was kind of interesting. Like I said, I think I said this before, is that Gabby Giffords went to Michael Day during the gun law tour. He put a picture up, put it in social media, and I actually took that picture and put it up in the video with Tom King to be like, hey, listen, these anti-gun folks that say they're, whatever, they're listening to us and going to help change the laws are full, let's see, what's the phrase? They are Nazis.
All right. Well, hey, man, we got to think about shutting this down. We are down at the bottom of the hour here. Everybody who's Listening on podcast, do please consider joining us live 6 p.m. Central Time every Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Central Time on Saturday for the weekend edition of The Bullet. Tomorrow, Amanda Suffolcool will be in. Amanda missed the last couple of hers, so it's been a good while since she's been on The Bullet. Looking forward to talking with her tomorrow. Mike Piwowarski is going to be Thursday, and Friday is Legal Friday with Alex Uli. Folks, that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for commenting. We'll see you